The latest generation of the BMW 5 Series has been around for a few years now, which means it's time for some updates. So, what's new, and is it even better than it was before? We're going to tell you everything you need to know in this review. Perhaps the biggest change on the new 5 Series cosmetically is at the front here, where you might be able to notice the grille is positioned slightly lower than before, and it's a bit wider as well. But compared to other BMW grilles, this one is very much restrained. And at the front, you've also got slightly taller and wider vents, plus the lights are a bit different too. You get LEDs as standard at the front and at the rear. Plus, on the options list, you've now got the choice of incredibly bright adaptive LED lights. Plus, the daytime running lights now have an L shape to them. And the final bit of reworking here is the fact that the indicators are now at the outer edges there. The rear, meanwhile, also has a slightly restyled bumper. Elsewhere, the list of standard equipment now includes power folding door mirrors, electrically adjustable lumbar support on the front seats, and a parking assistance system which can steer the car into spaces for you and reverse at distances of up to 50 metres. We're driving the full plug-in hybrid 530e, but the conventional engines in the 5 Series lineup now get a mild hybrid system fitted as standard to boost efficiency. The only exception to that is the V8 that you find in the M550i. But to be honest, if you're going for that car, you're probably more interested in performance than fuel economy. The grille is bigger on the outside and the infotainment screen is bigger on the inside. So you can get a 10.3-inch screen as standard, or this bigger 12.3-inch screen, which is borrowed from the X5 and runs BMW's latest 7th generation of its iDrive infotainment system. And it's brilliant, just as it was before. So nice having this really big screen that's very responsive, great graphics, sharp layout, and it's simple to navigate your way around it as well. But of course, what makes iDrive so good is the fact that you've got a rotary dial down here on the centre console, which means that when you're driving, it's just really simple, really safe to use all the functions on this infotainment system, especially with these physical shortcut buttons around it as well. You get Apple CarPlay and Android Auto as standard, and the smartphone integration is really good. It takes up the whole screen if you want it to, or you can only have a bit of Waze or Google Maps on some of the screens, so it's excellent from that perspective as well. What else is new in this 5 Series interior? Well, you'll notice some materials that are new for the first time in the 5 Series, like this gloss black surround on the centre console, which looks nice and glitzy in a showroom, but as you can see, living with it for a bit does get rather fingerprinty, but it doesn't really detract from the interior. There's also a slightly different look to the climate control down here, but don't worry, you still have physical controls and these dials as well, so it's really simple to use. It just has a slightly different look to how it did before. So isn't it great to see a manufacturer update their interior, but not make it worse by making everything touchscreen and removing all the physical controls? For build quality, for materials, for look, for feel, this is a properly outstanding interior with class-leading tech inside. And it's only really on build quality where an A6 does get close to the 5 Series, but both those cars are definitely a step on from the build quality that you get in an E-Class. There's plenty of room up front, and in the back, it's also fairly good on space. We're not talking about a luxury limo level of comfort and space back here, but you can see if you're just under 6 foot, as I am, headroom is good, and there's a decent amount of legroom to stretch out in as well. So tall adults will certainly fit back here in pretty decent comfort, and it's more spacious than an E-Class. The 5 Series has a 530-litre boot, which is officially quite a bit smaller than the Audi A6's, and an E-Class is bigger too. But we managed to fit a respectable 8 carry-on size suitcases on board, while the A6 and E-Class each took 9. However, boot space in this 530e is reduced due to its battery pack. It gets only 410 litres. That means it'll only hold 5 carry-on size suitcases, or to put it another way, not much more than a decent sized small hatchback. There haven't been any drastic changes mechanically to the 5 Series, so that means that the ride, the handling is very similar to before, which is also to say that it remains absolutely fantastic and class-leading in many areas. But we're in the 530e, which is actually quite different from before. So you get a 2-litre 4-cylinder petrol engine with an electric motor and a battery. and it offers pure electric power for around 35 to 37 miles. That's the claimed WLTP range. And when you're using that pure electric power, it really is impressively hushed, really zippy in the performance. And then when the engine kicks in, it's a smooth transition between those two power sources. Not every car gets that right, but in the 5 Series, it is really smooth, and it nicely switches seamlessly between the two. And the whole smoothness of everything is helped by this absolutely fantastic 8-speed automatic gearbox, which every 5 Series gets and remains absolutely fantastic. And just as with all plug-in hybrids, it's that electric side of things that really adds a lot to the overall package of the car. So when you're just on electric power, it means you're really quiet and smoothly zipping along, but then it also adds a useful bit of urgency to the acceleration, particularly noticeable at low speeds as well. So this is a pretty brisk car. You do have some level of control over how the electric motor and the battery work in this car. So as well as some drive modes like Sport, Hybrid and Electric, you've also got a mode where if the battery is completely flat, you can put it in battery control down here, and that will mean that as you drive along just using the petrol engine, it will help the car charge up the battery, and you can set exactly how much charge you want to put back into it, which is a really useful feature to have, and something that is also found in lots of other plug-in hybrids. But just bear in mind that with all plug-in hybrids, you get these official fuel economy figures that are staggeringly high, but you're only really likely to achieve remotely close to that on very, very short journeys if the battery's fully charged. But if your commute is 15 miles and you can charge the car up at home, then you've got every chance of this costing a fraction of what a pure petrol or diesel car would cost to run doing the same journeys. But if a plug-in hybrid doesn't quite fit your lifestyle, or you're a particularly high mileage driver, then you might also be interested in the 520D, which is still an exceptional car all round. It's a really smooth, punchy engine, excellent fuel economy as well. It's really such a great offering for those high mileage drivers looking at a 5 Series. And this car is just generally a really brilliant thing to drive. It's got nicely weighted, accurate steering, very good body control, remains really flat through corners, and it's just a very, very nice thing to steer. Certainly handling-wise, it's better than an Audi A6 and Mercedes E-Class. This is far more entertaining, and even from a comfort point of view as well, this is extremely impressive. But while the 5 Series is certainly better handling than an A6 and an E-Class, against perhaps a slightly left-field choice of the Jaguar XF, that does just offer slightly better finesse and delicacy from its steering. But as an overall package, the 5 Series, very simply, is unbeatable on the road compared to its direct competitors. So the new 5 Series is just as brilliant on the road as it is inside. But what else do you need to know? Well, broadly speaking, the 5 Series is actually priced a little lower than its closest competitors. The most popular version by far is the 520D for now, although we'd say that the best choice for company car users is certainly the 530E because of its low CO2 emissions. The standard kit available is boosted across the whole range, and even entry-level SE trim is really well equipped. It's the cheapest, but gets luxuries like leather seat trim, heated front seats, dual-zone climate control, and cruise control. The one tick we definitely recommend that you make on the options list is for adaptive suspension. So if you go for that, and small wheels, and avoid the stiffer run-flat tyres, then you get a 5 Series that rides absolutely superbly. It doesn't ride badly in other specifications, but this really is the 5 Series at its best. It's a shame then that with this facelift you can't get adaptive suspension even as an option on the 520D or the 520i, no matter what trim you go for. That's partly why M Sport Pro Pack models, which get adaptive suspension as standard, are our favourites. So the BMW 5 Series has been at the top of its class for a very long time now, and the changes that it's just had aren't massive, but they do enough to help it strengthen its grip right at the very top. It's a properly fantastic